Summer reading is finally here. This is my first summer as a reading girly. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my May reading wrap up and my ratings, as well as my June and potentially the rest of the summer TBR. So in May, I read 4 books, which is actually a record for me. I am still relatively new to reading. I'm new to BookTube, and I'm absolutely loving diving into more and more books and different genres and stuff. And the best part is we actually, we don't have 2 5-star reads. Sorry to disappoint. One of the 5-star reads I actually technically read the first day of June, so that doesn't count. Anyways, here's what I read in May. If you don't know, I am in the Throne of Glass series, so I read Queen of Shadows in May. I also started the tandem read, but I haven't finished it yet. After editing the video, I realized I never even described what the books I read were about, so I'll be hopping in through this section to explain what the books are about. Queen of Shadows is from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. This is a fantasy series with a little bit of romance trickled in throughout it. I don't even know how to describe this. Hold on, I gotta look up how to describe this series. Throne of Glass is a high fantasy novel series. The story follows a journey of Selena Sardathian, a teenage assassin in a corrupt kingdom with a tyrannical, I'm dyslexic, okay, I'm sorry, ruler, the King of Otterlin. As the tale progresses, Selena forms unexpected bonds and uncovers a conspiracy amidst her adventures. And there's 8 books. And I feel like that does not describe it good enough to get anyone to read it, but just trust me, you should definitely read it. This is a 5-star read. One of the best books I feel like I've ever read in my entire life. Just the character development, everything that happens in this book. This is the 4th book in the series. Technically 5 because I read Assassin's Blade first. And every single thing led up to this book. And this isn't even the end of the series yet. It absolutely ate in every single way it possibly could. I can't really say much without spoilers, but let's just say if you haven't read Throne of Glass yet, this book makes every single book worth it. And I liked the other books too, but especially this one. I have a part 1 of my Throne of Glass reading vlog up, but to see anything from Air Fire forward, I'm almost done with the series, and then I'll have my part 2 posted, so stay tuned for that this summer. Next, if you've watched my 24-hour read, you know that I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. Beach Read is about a character, January, who goes to Lake Michigan to move into like this house that she didn't know her dad had, and her neighbor is Augustus Everett, aka Gus. It kind of follows their story, which does not start out as a romance. They're actually college rivals, and then there's a bunch of other cute characters, and like the scenery is really cute. They're both authors, and they make a bet to write each other's genre, and then it just kind of progresses from there. I think I just had bad expectations going into this book, but even removing my expectations, I honestly just didn't really like this book that much. I rated it a 2.5 stars, which feels mean, but honestly that's not horrible. Like, I didn't hate the book. I read it pretty quickly, but I just didn't really connect with it. I didn't really like the characters. I didn't really like the romance. I also had someone mention to me that this isn't necessarily a romance, that her books are more just like fiction with romance in them. But even that being said, I just don't think, I feel like it's really misleading. First of all, beach read, and then like it really has nothing to do with like summer or beach vibes. They're like on a lake in Michigan, and they don't even like read on the beach. They barely even go to the beach. Anyways, there are just so many things I don't care about in this book. A lot of heavy topics that I honestly just didn't want to read. I feel like it was kind of slowly paced. I could go on about the things I don't like about this book, but that just feels mean because so many people like this book. So honestly, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what I think. It just wasn't for me, and that's totally fine. But I'm glad that I read it. I'm gonna try out potentially one of her other books, but we'll see. Then I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. I actually just finished up a reading Colleen Hoover for a week video, so I am gonna have a lot of Colleen Hoover books in my video today. Verity is a thriller with some romance in it. It starts off with kind of this like traumatic scene, and then the main character, Lowen, is an author, and she gets asked to come on and finish a girl named Verity, who is also an author, her series that follows like villains. So I think it's like an 8-book series, and she has to write like 4 of them or something. And so she moves into the house where Verity is living after she had an accident, and her husband Jeremy is living there with their son Crew. She then finds this like manuscript that Verity was writing that completely changes her view of how she sees Verity, and it ends up like giving her the creeps, and Verity is unable to do anything, to talk to like anything, but she's still like alive. And so then it just kind of follows this like suspense of what actually happened and who actually is Verity. And yeah, I'm really bad at describing books, I'm sorry. Okay, anyways, Verity got a 3.5 stars in that video, but I think I'm gonna lower it down to just a 3-star now that it's like been some time since I read it and I thought about it more. I can't with the writing, and honestly, let me just talk about the next one as well. I read it on my Kindle from the library. This is also a friend's book, so 2 borrowed books. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which was 2.5 stars. Both of them, I got the ick a lot from the writing. Starting with Verity, there are just so many raunchy, explicit scenes that, like, I don't know how to say this with keeping it appropriate on YouTube, but like, I don't need to read about your oral activities every single chapter to get the point across of what's going on. Okay, this could have been a really good book if we took away a lot of the raunchy, sexually explicit stuff and a lot of the stuff that has to do with the children. I just couldn't, it was like really hard to get through, but I was kind of like, couldn't put it down, wanted to know how it ended, so that's why it still gets a 3-star. It Ends With Us is about a girl named Lily Bloom and a guy named Ryle and a guy named Atlas. Lily aspires to open up a flower shop, and she runs into this guy named Ryle one night on a rooftop in Boston, and then it kind of just keeps being that they keep running into each other and a romance buds between them. But there's also these excerpts that flash back to when she was a teenager with her first love, Atlas. So it kind of follows her relationship with Atlas as well as her relationship with Ryle. And then there is kind of like a plot twist, which could also be a trigger warning, so make sure to look that up before you read the book. And it just kind of follows their relationship and how things unfold from there. It Ends With Us, which I read in my Kindle, 2.5 star. It didn't do it for me. The writing, not it at all. There are so many lines that are just going through my head right now that were in the book that I'm like, are you kidding me? How is that in this book? I don't understand. Like, there's this one that's like, just like a magician, poof, his fingers were gone. What? There's so many lines like that. I didn't like the main characters, Lily and Ryle, and I didn't actually, I feel like Lily's alright. I didn't like Atlas, which is the person everybody's supposed to like. So all in all, the parts that you're supposed to like about the book, I did not like. So that kind of sucks that I had 2 kind of crappy reads, but I knew I was doing a special video for these books, so I wasn't too worried about it. On to my June TBR, which means I also get to talk about my first 5-star read of June, which will be in my June wrap-up video, but I'm gonna mention it here just a little bit. It was a Colleen Hoover book, shockingly. It's called Heartbones, which I've never really heard anyone talk about. Heartbones is about a girl named Bea, a guy named Samson, and then some of their friends and family. This is like a summer fling type of romance. So it starts with Bea. She grows up in a traumatic home, and actually chapter 1, her mom dies, and she has to go to her estranged father's house. She grew up like extremely poor, doesn't even have enough money to eat most of the time. And then she goes to her dad's house, who lives on this peninsula right next to Galveston, Texas. And it's like a little beach town, and he had remarried to her now stepmom, and they've got money, and so there's a lot of rich people around, and she kind of explores the world of like going from so poor to like living on a beach house with a view at the beach, and it's like shocking for her. And it's just a really cute, fun summer romance, but also touches on some subjects that are fun to explore. But the whole thing is that Samson has these secrets. He's very closed off, and he doesn't want to tell Bea like anything about himself, and they're both kind of like disconnected from the real world in a way, and are like broken people, and so they kind of find each other interesting because they're both broken. And then there's a little bit of a twist at the end as to why Samson wouldn't tell her anything. 5-star read, amazing. I seriously think that Colleen Hoover didn't even write it. I'm like, she just put her name on the book. I don't know who actually wrote it. I'm kidding. Obviously she actually wrote it, but like, it is amazing. It might be like odd that I gave it a 5-star because it might be kind of random and maybe not everyone connects to it, but for me it really hit. Go watch my Colleen Hoover book to hear me talk more about like why it really hit for me. But it didn't have any of these like cringy weird lines in it that like you're like, why is that there? It was actually like a really well written, cute romance that also had like some good topics to think about in it. I don't know. I loved it. 5-star read. It took place in Texas, which I lived in Texas for the past 2 years, like right by where this took place. So it just was really nostalgic for me. Anyway, on to the rest of the TBR. So this is kind of like a June TBR, but also just leading into summer. I have a lot of trips going on, so I know I'm gonna like crank out a lot of books this summer, but I just don't know how many I'll be able to read. So let's just show you everything I'm planning on reading. First is Powerful by Lauren Roberts. I'm so excited about this book. It's a little novella from the series Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and Reckless by Lauren Roberts comes out in July, and I'll be reading that as well. So both Powerless and Reckless are on my TBR for the summer. It may not be like summer vibes, but when I'm in the mood, this will hit. This follows one of the side characters' little novella, so excited about that. Few more fantasy books keeping with that theme is the rest of the tandem read. Once again, if you don't know, Sarah J Maas, Throne of Glass, seriously the best fantasy series ever. I still don't know if I like this better than ACOTAR. I think they're just so different, it's hard to compare, but I am on book 6 and 7, or is it 5 and 6? I don't know, I get confused because of Assassin's Blade. Does it say on here? Sometimes in the very front it'll say. Well, it doesn't necessarily say which number this is. Okay, anyways, you can see where I am in both of the books, so maybe like a little more than halfway on both of them. So cranking through these, reading them a little bit at night. Now that I'm done with my Colleen Hoover book, I'm probably gonna finish these before I read anything else. I am loving both of these books, and whoever recommended the tandem read, whoever, literally everybody on TikTok, thank you so much, because I could totally understand how if you read this and then this would be boring, but reading them together, oh, I'm loving it. That was so dramatic. I'm actually embarrassed by that. Sorry. Yes, we get to follow Kale, we get to follow Aelin and Dorian, and oh my gosh, this one is starting to get close to a 5-star for me. Queen of Shadows was just so good. It's hard to like compare, but this one is really good too. But this one is also really good. Like honestly, it might end up being a 5-star. I don't know. It's hard to separate them since I'm doing the tandem read. But anyways, reading these books. Which then puts this on the TBR, Kingdom of Ash, which is the very last book of the Throne of Glass series, and I'm literally crying just thinking about it being over. I'm so excited to read this, but it is almost 1,000 pages. It's a fat book, so I don't know when I will get to it, but I am gonna try to like read it as like, maybe not sit down and try to read it all in a week, but like read it as I go when I'm ready to like pick it. I'm a mood reader, okay? It's really hard for me to not mood read. There's that, Throne of Glass, we'll finish her. Then one more fantasy book. I'm sorry, I know it's not summer vibes, but An Ember and the Ashes, which then means I'm gonna have to read all of them eventually because I have to know how everything ends. Anyways, this is a book club book that we're doing in June. I think I'm already supposed to have read it and I haven't even started it yet. I'll probably audiobook it just because like I'm getting a little burnt out on the fantasy now that I've read some other books and I'm excited about some other books. But I do want to read it for my book club with my sisters and my stepmom. So those are all the fantasy. So now on to the cutesy fun stuff. I have a couple of just cute summer books that I honestly saw on TikTok and I've heard a lot of good things about. I'm really excited and I don't know what any of them are about. So perfect, but they all have like pink, so you know it's gonna be cute and fun. First is Picking Daisies on Sundays. I literally bought this book because of the title. Are you kidding me? The title and the cover. I don't care if you're not supposed to judge a book by a cover. I must read this book. Should we read what it's about? Daniela Daisy Maria wanted love. It's all she hoped for when watching endless rom-coms every Friday night. What she hadn't hoped for was to find it in her childhood best friend, Levi. Oh, childhood best friend. It was the hand-trembling, heart-thumping kind of love that wasn't supposed to happen when you saw your best friend, but it all ended when he didn't feel the same and she vowed to never see him again. 4 years later, and one night in a crowded bar in the West Village, there he was, just as perfect as ever. Okay, it keeps going, but you get the general idea. Now I'm actually kind of excited to read this. All right, okay. Should I say the authors? Yeah, I probably should. This one is by Liana Senkati. I never know how to say people's names, so don't ever expect me to pronounce anything correctly over here. Anyway, then we have The Summer of Broken Hearts by K.L. Walter. Also have no idea what this is about. Let me read the back real quick. Okay, so this girl, she lost her sister, she kind of separates herself from the world, and then there's a big family vacation that's gonna happen on a vineyard, and it's a big summer wedding, and then there's a cute alliance because they're playing like this big game with the groomsmen. This sounds so cute. Wedding, summer, family reunion. That sounds like the perfect book for me, honestly. I'm very excited. I feel like I'm gonna fly through all these like cute little summer romances. Then we have, I'm sure you guys have all heard of this book, Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Also, I have no idea what this is about, but it said summer on it and so many people recommended it, so I'm excited. I also don't really feel like reading the back right now, so we'll just explore this one together. Then my first ever Abby Jimenez book. I'm really excited just for the summer is what I'm gonna start with. I've been seeing a lot more of her books pop up on BookTube and Book Talk, so I'm excited to start with this one, and it says just for the summer, so I have to read it in the summer, right? And then if I like her writing and everything, then we can move on to a lot of her other books. But once again, no clue what this is about, don't feel like reading the back, I'm just excited to have a fun time. Side note, I just got on TikTok after filming and realized that this book is a part of an interconnected but standalone series. So like I can read it without reading the other ones first, but technically you're supposed to read this one last. I don't know if I care enough because this one seems so summer vibes. So before I get to the book, let me know down below if I should read her other books first or if I should just hop in. And that is my summer TBR. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. Oh, wait, one more. I actually have on Libby, on the library app, whatever, Happy Place by, what's her name again? Emily Henry. I'm gonna give another one of her books a good try, and I have better expectations going into this one this time, so maybe I will like it more. I also have all the Crescent City books. I just bought them, but it'll probably be a while before I step into that world, so I'm not gonna put it on my summer TBR. And then once again, I'm a mood reader, so who knows what I'll pick up. I'm gonna be going on vacations. I'll probably just grab books from wherever. I'm going to my mom's, and her neighborhood literally just has like a massive, not massive, but like a library at one of the restaurants, so who knows what I'll read is what I'm saying, okay? But this is my TBR. There are 4, 8, 9 books on my TBR. Halfway through 2 of them. Oh, actually there's 10 books because I already read one of them, Heartbones. So if I read like 4 or 5 books in June and July, that should be pretty solid. I'm excited. Good times. Okay, share with me what your guys' TBR is. Maybe I'll add some of them to my TBR. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!